There is a victim, a survivor from India,
Yes.
and that she has been under therapy.
Yeah.
And everybody associated with Epstein actually says this. He was a very good manipulator. He could manipulate people with his words.
And emotions too.
Yeah.
So one interesting thing about Jeffrey Epstein, when you see in that files, is that he had connections with all kinds of people.
Yes.
It's when he started his own funding investment firm.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be a turning point in his life where he started giving services for uber ultra rich clients.
Email to Epstein from a redacted center. That mail, it is mentioning that I'm organizing the birthday party of Maharaja of Jaipur in our family castle near Rome. This summer, it's going to be amazing.
The world has long been discussing the horrific crimes of Jeffrey Epstein, and now the UN Experts Council has called the abuses he committed as a crime against humanity. They describe the crimes as dehumanization, racism, and sexual violence. Welcome to today's discussion, where we unpack the underbelly of Jeffrey Epstein's crime, the powerful networks associated with him, and the questions that still remain.
Jeffrey's network is so vast that he has even a Kerala collection. So in his correspondence with the disgraced Peter Mandelson from the Labour Party in
The United Kingdom.
United Kingdom
He was also the ambassador
of
from
US,
to the US.
US. And they talk about Kerala massage, which is definitely not the conventional massage that we are thinking about, because massage is the most infamous and the most figured word in all of Epstein files.
Yeah.
So they've been talking about the Kerala massage and how he would like to get one. So yeah, that is how vast his network has been, because even in down south, a small state like Kerala, if it has to figure in Epstein's mails, then that much vast his network is. That is what we have to understand from this.
Yeah, it just shows how his reach expanded not just to countries abroad, but more than India, it's actually reached Kerala's roots, where they talk about the kind of massages they even received.
Yes.
With Kerala in single inverted quotes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And multiple media sources actually credit, and they say that he had a network so vast that he had international scouts to get girls from all over the world. So that is something that is
So one of the latest updates that we hear is about that there is a victim, a survivor from India,
Yes.
and that she has been under therapy.
Yeah. They're ready to
some
offer
time.
them her
Yes,
therapy.
Yes.
So that's again how much the US also is stretching out their services to the other victims.
Exactly.
It's just far beyond their country, but they're even ready to provide her online services of therapy. So the extent of the trauma that's been inflicted on the individual, the victims is huge.
It's huge. So yeah, his India connection is also something that maybe a lot of
It's a
people from
wider
India,
stretch.
right?
Yeah.
So the first name is Deepak Chopra, the most respected Indian American wellness author and a spiritual guru. His famous books are 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, Ageless Body and Timeless Mind, Buddha, The Story of Enlightenment.
Wasn't he the one who mentioned
God is a construct.
Yes, God is a construct and cute girls are real.
Yeah, the irony of a spiritual guru
That's
mentioning
quite disgusting, because that is not the image that we have about Deepak Chopra. I mean, Indians are proud about him. Because he was one of the first guys who popularized
the
yoga
wellness trend
and the wellness trend outside India.
Yes.
I mean,
He even has a Chopra art of
California,
California.
And his name appears over 3,000 times between 2010 to 2019.
So one interesting thing about Jeffrey Epstein, when you see in that files, is that he had connections with all kinds of people.
Yes.
You know, he had connections with the financiers. He had connections with politicians.
the British dynasty,
Yes, even the
royals,
monarchy,
yes.
the royals,
royalty,
and
science, a lot of scientists,
Nobel laureates,
Nobel
activists,
yeah.
you know, and people are really surprised that when the names of people like Noam Chomsky,
also
you know,
Stephen Hawking.
you know,
Yes, Stephen
Even
Hawking.
because
so
of
the kind of reach and interest that he had. So a lot of people who learn about Epstein, actually they've heard only about his
Predatory
as a
side.
predatory side. So, but he used all his soft skills to kind of aid his pedophile orientations.
Yeah.
So actually, his first client was himself.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
First client was himself, and then he extended
His
his
network.
interest, to other people, and he used that as skill. You would have watched, all of us would have watched that Netflix
Documentary
documentary
of Jeffrey Epstein, the filthy rich.
where everyone says that he's so charismatic.
Yeah,
Also,
that is
apart
one
from
thing
the
everybody
victims,
says.
the people associated with him calls him as a genius.
Yes.
They call him as the explosion of knowledge and invasion of mind, and they see a prospective contributor in whichever field they are in. As
See, coming back to that Kerala connection in Gmail, we talked about
Yes.
the Kerala
Yes,
massage
that
email which Peter Mandelson
Yes.
brought him. So in another email, Jeffrey Epstein has a discussion with another person about the introduction of mobile phones in Kerala.
Yeah, back in 1997.
97,
when
and
the
how
fishermen-
Kerala's fishermen fixed rates from the sea, and how mobile phones had changed their lives.
so, he's very
He's very interested
He's
in
very
things.
He's always well informed.
Well informed, and he's very interested in things like this happening all around the world. It's
Very
not
niche
just,
ideas also.
limited to the US. It's anywhere. So when we check his Gmails, you can see that he's been corresponding with people from all over the world, talking about things that are happening in remote areas of the world. So he's that much informed.
That's part
about
of his modus operandi, which
So
we
what
will
was
come
he,
to.
his background.
Because a lot of people do not know who this guy is. The
Actually.
super manipulator. Who is this guy?
So his childhood and upbringing is completely different than how we would think. So he was born on the 30th of January 1953 in New York, New
20th
Jersey.
of January.
20th of January.
In Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn. So the interesting part is he has not graduated, but he joined as a physics teacher at Dalton University, a school, which is actually an elite institution of one of the most elite people, the students in there.
So, and he joined at the age of 21, I guess.
21. And that is when he met the father of a student and connected him. That's how he got the connection to the Wall Street investment bank called the Bearstons.
Yeah.
It is there that his educational qualification was under scrutiny. So his boss there, when they checked, they came to know, and he admitted it. So that's actually mentioned in the documentary, where he actually admitted to his boss that he doesn't have a degree and he did this just to save himself. Again, the interesting part there is the boss says, when he gave me the answer, I was convinced. He bought me off, is what the boss says.
Yeah.
He bought him off with his words.
And everybody associated with Epstein actually says this. He was a very good manipulator. He could manipulate people with his words.
And emotions too.
Yeah.
So after that, it's when he started his own funding investment firm.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be a turning point in his life where he started giving services for uber ultra rich clients. And those clients included Mr.
Leslie
Wexner
from
The man behind Victoria's Secret.
Victoria's Secret, and he was the main funding area for Mr. Epstein because he had handed over his power of attorney
Yes, he
to
handed
Epstein.
over the power.
That was a start of amassing wealth and getting the connections to the wealthy.
Yes. And his modus operandi was very interesting, actually.
Yeah.
The way he preyed on all these girls, his
Yes.
victims, if we talk about them. Because he always chose victims or underage girls who came from a broken family, who
Yes.
had a very difficult upbringing or financial financial disadvantages. So he always preyed on such people, and his main thing was he offered money for a massage. So that was his statements, as we can see.
$200.
Yeah, $200 for a massage
To school students.
to school students. And then he used those students who came to him to get more girls.
So there we have to talk about
His,
Ghislaine Maxwell also,
yeah,
because she
because
was
she was
the
one of the-
first one who tried to lure these women into the whole aspect of massaging industry.
Yeah,
So they
it's
were
like
lured on the basis of saying, you are going to get a certified degree in massage as a masseuse.
Yeah, we'll
And-
educate you.
And
We'll send
they
you
will
abroad.
he will educate their family.
Yeah, he'll take care of their family,
Family.
and then educate them. And the pretext of them going abroad and having a life, a better life, is what lured all these girls to him. This is exactly like a sexual pyramid scheme.
Exactly.
So he chooses one person, and then that person connects. There are victims who actually went and got 40 to 60 girls for him. So that documentary talks about, those victims talk about getting more and more girls in his
So
network.
if you see that pyramid, it's very interesting how he has structured it. He's at the heart of it.
Yes.
And then you have
Ghislaine
Maxwell, as the next connection.
Yep.
And then there are hundreds of people who are not connected to each other, but
Yes.
only connected to Epstein, to Ghislaine.
Yeah.
So there again, the victim, one of the most important victims, where there was a sister and her younger sister, and both of them, they were artists. So there again, Ghislaine was the one who approached her saying there's this very wealthy person who would like to buy your painting and he could give you a life that you've never even dreamt of.
Yeah.
So is this the first case in 2005?
Yeah.
So it is the first case
This is the first
about
case.
the two
Two
sisters.
sisters, of which one was a... So there's another disturbing incident back to it. She was a painter, so artist. What she did was nude paintings about adulthood, sexuality, puberty. So for her, she wanted models to pose for a photograph, which she would use as a reference. So she used the models as her sisters.
Yeah, her
Unfortunately,
sisters were the-
Epstein has the images with her.
Those
and
photographs. Yeah.
those victims are still traumatized and they live in the fear every day of would our images be the next to come out. So it's the modus that he operates within. Also, one point to mention is we talk about how he is very charming to his people and everything, but the other side is he was somebody who was very private. As in
He's
he-
credited as an introvert.
Yeah.
So his main point of contact to the people, if he wanted to talk to someone, he wanted to get things done, he would always use Ghislaine for this.
So he was the introvert, Ghislaine was the extrovert.
Extrovert, yeah.
Okay,
They were
so
like the-
Ghislaine again is a Oxford educated woman.
And her father
who
is also very wealthy
she
man.
is, her father's a media tycoon called Robert Maxwell.
Yeah.
So
Who died under mysterious circumstances. So,
So-
that's one conspiracy theory about
exactly,
it.
and he was really a huge fan of him because he wanted to get through. Coming back to my point, I wanted to complete it. So he actually disliked women keeping their sex toys on the bed, or if he has a decorum, which it is described, he has a decorum which has to be maintained. So if a woman that he sent to his friend expresses something or leaves something behind, he gets angry. So there are multi-facets of this person that is different to different people.
Yeah, that I've seen in the documentary as well, because he behaves in a different way to all of the girls. It's not like everything is the same. So the basic thing is the same. Give him a massage, strip down for him, or he'll ask them to strip. But then the way he behaves to those girls are also different.
Yeah.
He gives different promises to different people, behaves in for example, the Virginia, that girl,
Yeah.
Virginia Robert, she was one of the most talked about victims, actually.
Yes.
She came out and she was the one who exposed Prince Andrew as well.
Did she
Yes.
commit?
Yeah.
Did she commit?
She committed
Yes,
suicide last year after fighting, I think at the age of 41. She actually moved to Australia.
Yeah,
she got
with her
married.
husband,
She
yeah.
had a
She had
different
kids.
life. But she was consistently...
Yeah, she had.
she
was
had kids.
Just when she
consistently
had her
following
first kid that she decided to come out and talk about it. She didn't want her kids to go through what she went through, so she
And
wanted to.
another psychological thing that if you watch or go through the records, every woman, like there was one victim who said, I never had a sense of identity. I didn't
Yeah.
have a dad. I didn't have a father. This man used to shower her with compliments.
Yes.
He used to take her for runs together.
Yeah.
Automatically giving them the hope that this might lead to somewhere. And that is the reason why so many of the victims came back for a second or a third time, because they had this innate connection that could not be openly told also.
Yeah, also some victims actually thought that he could be their ticket to freedom or a better life. So, you know, if he could give them that education which he promised, or if he could give them money, they could just escape from whatever life that they've been having.
Yes.
But then unfortunately that did not happen because he started trafficking them to different people. That is what.
So he kind of behaved like a father figure
Yes.
also.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is
And-
called grooming.
Yes, grooming. And so actually his network had these girls, the victims, and his rich clients.
Yep.
And so his network included, you know, this unique system of very influential people and very vulnerable people.
Victims, yeah.
You know?
One
And
more- yeah.
this, this philosopher, Slavoj Zizek, so he has written an article, and the title of the article is Epstein as a Primordial Father. So in that article, he says something interesting, that there is a deep state. So we talk about deep state as hidden institutions that influence our democracy, our police, our judiciary. But Zizek says the deep state here is actually based on enjoyment of the super rich or the ultra influential.
Yes.
And she says the message of the Epstein affair is no state without the deep state and no state power without its obscene double. So we see these very influential people who contribute to society, who run this NGO, the philanthropy, and the underbelly of that is very dark and where it's very traumatizing for the victims.
Yeah.
And this system offers these super rich people to actually act out their fantasies.
Yes.
in a very secure and safe place. So we know that all of Jeffrey Epstein's residences,
Yes, he had
places like this.
Yeah.
you know.
Palm Beach, Florida.
Palm Beach,
that was
Florida.
an island.
And then he first acquired, I think in 1996, he acquired the Little James.
Which is
No,
infamously
island,
now
yeah.
called the
Virginia
pedophile
Island.
island.
Tido Land, yeah.
And in 2013, I think he acquired another island, a bigger island, and
Yeah.
call it the
Yeah,
Big James or something.
Yes, Big James. It is right adjacent to the Little James Island. So he acquired that, and now he has both. He
So
owns
it's
both.
called a temple. The main area is called a temple where the guests come.
Yeah.
And then his place is actually a little
Yeah,
apart from.
I've seen the pictures. There's a blue shed on top. That is his personal
So
residence.
it was a kind of kingdom of heaven that he envisaged,
Yes.
Yeah.
where he is the God,
Yes.
where he is the super father,
And he can grant anything anybody
anything
asks.
to anyone.
So
Yeah,
coming
And at the
back-
same time, he can grant anything to anyone. At the same time, all these influential people who came there were under surveillance by
Yes.
Yes.
The same,
Yes,
very same person.
same guy.
Yes, that is
So,
what. He had installed cameras in every room of that
Yeah.
place.
So, like, just climbing back to the point, these people need. Obviously, it would have been a give and take.
Yeah.
Something would have gone there. So when we come to what made them go there, or what was he luring them with?
Yeah.
So there's a media
There is a
report that says it's actually a record of a global class of very privileged people and what they wanted to be gifted.
Yes.
And that includes expensive luxury items like Prada bags, Hermes bags. There are sweatshirts that's extra large, especially for Steve Bannon.
Yeah, and monogrammed ones too. Some of
Yes.
them are monogrammed. There is an email between him and Brann saying that this one is monogrammed, so I can't even re-gift it if I want to. And then Epstein says that you can give them to the same, sometimes the same initials. So it works. Right?
Yeah, the favors doesn't end there though.
No.
It's very famous that for a Woody Allen film,
Yeah.
he got the role for a supposed associate of his. Again,
Son
the
of an
same associate, the same Woody Allen also wanted to be part of another project called The Bard. Then there are charity donations that he does. Then there is apparently in
I
quotes.
think it's interesting to talk about the kind of favors
Yeah.
that he offered to his victims and to his clients.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was actually currying favor for everyone.
Yes.
So even to the victims, when they were devastated, when they were
Yes.
feeling so vulnerable, he would lend a helping hand.
Yes.
Oh, you take this scholarship and
Yeah.
go study.
Yeah, and
Yes.
most of them are astonished by the first time they enter the little St. James Island. Even by then they're lured. And there's
Yeah.
one line where one person says, I was drunk from the beginning to the end. I reached there and I didn't have a drop of alcohol, because that is the kind of environment he builds for his guests.
Yeah, I also heard one victim say that when she went to the Palm Beach, the mansion, she said that once she got inside that area, because Florida has two areas. The Palm Beach, in the west of Palm Beach,
Yeah.
is like very, it's very small.
The poor,
Poor people,
lower middle
lower
class.
middle class people. But then the other side of Palm Beach is this huge mansion,
Swanky
swanky.
mansions,
Yeah, all those posh people staying there. And once she crossed the bridge, she was like, this is all very new to me. I've never
Yeah.
seen something like this. And she was hooked in it.
So the victims came from the other side of Florida,
Yes.
crossing the bridge.
But like he said, the same man who's recorded everybody, so he actually has a lot of hold and things he knows that if let out could affect a lot of people.
Yeah, the main point of this is that none of these people who have taken favors from him, they cannot ever go against him, because there are a lot of incriminating evidence that he holds against them, that he could, just put it out there and then they would suffer. So he
And
had this
also
hold over
that
people.
relationship is not always, even with the wealthy people, the relationship is not always very admirable or adorable. He knows he has something to hold over them,
Yeah.
and they know the same thing.
So Hima, so we have heard all these names, and how did he pull this off? Because almost everyone knew what he was doing, but he didn't face the law, enough. So how did he pull this off?
The main thing is he got a lot of connections. He got connections everywhere. So like names like Hardep Singh Puri.
Yeah, back in India, we have a lot
Yes.
of connections.
And the opposition leader Rahul Gandhi alleged in Lok Sabha that Puri introduced businessman Anil Ambani to Jeffrey Epstein. So he met Epstein 3 to 4 times maximum, and his name appears 163 times.
In the mails?
In the mails.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they have had a lot of correspondence and something about...
He arranged a visa.
Yeah, and-
at,
And they were planning to bring co-founder of LinkedIn.
Yeah, and they talked about that
Talked about
also,
that
to
also.
India.
Yeah, to make in India, digital India
Yes.
business
Yes.
talks and all.
Wasn't also a mail there regarding the target? Is this our target?
Oh yeah, that was about there was a mention of a Dr. Vardhan
Yeah.
in the mail who's supposedly a target meeting for Epstein, but we are not sure who that person is. But there's also
So
a mention-
basically, the interesting thing is Epstein is being used to actually connect to India's policies also.
Yes.
You know, like a Make in India policy, and use him to get other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, even others who are outside in his larger network. So even though we have names of Indians being reflected in the mails,
Yeah.
we don't know whether they have really met. I think Hardep Singh Puri has met him twice or
Yes,
twice,
three to four times.
three to four
And
times.
his correspondence, the Anil Ambani mentions a tall Swedish blonde. We are not sure about the meetings, but Hardep Singh Puri has met them 3 to 4 times where they've also discussed the Independent Commission on Multilateralism in India.
Okay.
So
So I think
there's
there's no
also-
surprise then there was this huge uproar in Delhi. You know, it has become a political issue
Yes.
in India.
So what about
The
the
opposition
mention of
has taken-
Dilip Cherian?
Now, Dilip Cherian is a PR professional.
Okay.
So someone actually wrote to Epstein
yes.
Okay,
so that you could meet him.
Yeah.
You
But
could
he
meet
has
Dilip.
no
He
direct-
has not met. He has
Okay,
met.
just
I think
mentioned.
that we should be very clear because
Yes.
a lot of people's names,
Have
you know,
been-
respectable
yeah.
people, their names are being reflected in these mails. But
But not
Through
everyone is
secondary
in the same
communications,
context,
yeah.
though. Yeah, it is not the same context. Some people are just mentioned as a secondary communication.
because a recluse socialite, he ensured that he had connection with all kinds of people.
Yes.
around
And
the
he
world.
sought out these connections. And but we cannot come to a conclusion that they necessarily met.
Yeah. That's
Because
Yeah.
so many
Or
mails-
even influenced, in India's case.
yeah.
yeah.
You know?
So many
But still,
mails-
it shows his power.
Yes, so many mails between Puri and Deepak Chopra and the
Yes.
Epstein.
Yes.
They mention a lot of policies, Make in India policies, something about auto industries. A lot of those kind of mails
Business,
were also
yes.
there. Not only
So
the
what
other
were in his correspondence with Bill Gates? They were talking about vaccines.
They were actually talking about the
Okay.
pandemic as well.
Yes, the
COVID-19
pandemic,
is
yes.
apparently
It's a
manufactured.
Manufactured.
Yeah.
But it's again a conspiracy.
Yes, but then
we're not aware of
they are talking about it a lot in their emails, and the vaccination is supposedly making people infertile. It's all a lot of conjecture there. It's not proven. Anything, nothing is
But
proven.
Epstein was interested in this.
Yes, he's
He was
very
interested as a businessman because, what is he? He's a banker. So they are always looking for avenues to invest in profitable ventures, which they have little competition. And even if there are competition, Epstein knew ways how to cut competition.
But with Bill Gates, he had specifically written that he had met him, but he did not like his way of work. If you had
Yeah.
gone through the
The
text,
mail,
yeah. So he's actually said that, but he also appreciated that he's interested in his ideas to contribute and grow.
Yeah, in science. He was
Yeah.
interested in Bill's ideology and the way he worked, but then he was not really interested in the person. Yeah, they were not, that was there. And there are a lot of people
It's a
actually.
huge list.
It's a huge list. Like Prince Andrew actually lost his title because of this whole
And
controversy.
his residence too.
Yeah, that was a big
Yeah.
thing. And
Then
then
to
as
flee
we
the
mentioned-
country, actually.
Yeah, okay. And then there's Peter Mandelson, like we talked about. Then there's Bill Clinton's and Hillary Clinton's name are also being pulled into this.
And
And
they're
there are
also
Clinton's photographs, right?
Yes, and apparently there's a photograph of Bill and Jeffrey traveling together in a plane.
And one in a tub.
Hot tub.
Hot
yeah.
tub.
Yeah. Then,
So let's get back to the Indian connection.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
names
Yeah.
are remaining. And there's one name, Jaipur Prince. His name is Sawai Padmanabh Singh.
Okay.
Okay, in a mail from May 14, 2018, email to Epstein from a redacted sender. In that mail, it is mentioning that I'm organizing the birthday party of Maharaja of Jaipur in our family castle near Rome. This summer, it's going to be amazing.
Let's have a look at the
Yes.
email first.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think
we can.
for
Yeah.
better clarity.
See, there are thousands of documents like this.
Yeah.
And we know that they say that 6 million.
6 million,
Million-
out of which
Only-
180,000 is
How many-
videos.
how many
3.5
video-
million
documents?
Documents have been released.
180,000 videos and 20
Images. No, no, images
and
and
20,000
2,000 videos
videos.
have been released, yes.
and that all redacted ones.
Yeah, mostly all redacted ones. All the images mostly are that blacked out, but then their justification is that they would like to protect the identity
But
of
again,
victims.
that was a problem with the society because they said this was a transparency. But ultimately, when the report came out, all the redacted names were of those who had been the predators.
Is exactly.
The protected, supposedly victims who supposed to get the protection, their names were out in the open.
Yeah.
Where one victim in the documentary said she was distressed, she lost her job because her photo was put out.
Yeah, even in the documents that the 18,000 photos
Yeah.
that they've published, the ones that are blacked out are all the predators, not the victims. And
The powerful ones.
Yes. And
So there was this recent congressional hearing in the US
Yes.
where the survivors
Sat
came
across.
in, and we have this Indian origin Democrat Senator Pramila Jaipal.
then the
So
Attorney General.
yes, the Attorney General Pambodi.
Pambodi.
And so there is this very telling photograph. Actually, it's a historic photograph.
Yes.
Yes.
You can see Pambodi. Let's see the photograph.
Yeah.
So you can see Pambodi sitting in front, facing Pramila Jaipal.
Yeah.
And you have this survivor standing behind
Yes.
her, and they have raised their hands. So Pramila actually asked them. She asked the survivors to stand and raise their hands if they have not been able to meet with the Justice Department, which is under Pambodi. And they all raised their hands.
hands.
They all raised their hands. And then Jaipal asked Bondi, will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice had put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and the information? And Bondi, in typical fashion of most of Trump's,
Deflecting,
she
yeah.
deflected it. And then she waved her hand dismissively and said, Jaipal, along with a number of other legislators, she said, I'm not going to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
That's exactly
so
how she
that
said
so that was really shocking.
Yes.
Because you have the survivors standing behind.
Yeah, and she's the Attorney General.
And to have gone through that and to supposedly reach a place where you're supposed to get justice, and
But
when
then your
she just
names just being dragged all around.
I think in that way, the only person who gave a voice to the survivors, who gave them justice, was the judge.
James
in
Byrne.
2019,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
So his name was James Berman, which all the victims talk to about a lot of gratitude. They say he was the only person throughout the justice and legal system that made them feel like a human inside the courtroom. He gave them space to speak. Even after the death of Epstein, he called them up. He said, I will give you the chance to talk about your trauma. And they did. And that day, all these victims bonded together.
Yeah, that makes
It was
sense.
a
because-
beautiful, also a
I
very
think
cathartic experience.
this is important also because in the second indictment, I think it's 2008.
This is third
This is the third.
conviction.
Yeah.
In
First one was
2008,
2005.
he pleaded guilty.
Yes,
Yes.
on 2 counts.
Just 2 counts.
Two counts, and
soliciting
that
a
too soliciting a minor for prostitution.
Prostitution.
Actually, this was also a very difficult time for the survivors because he portrayed all of them as prostitutes.
Yes.
The
In the
media
reports that
called
it-
them. Media called them a
everybody called
junior
them.
prostitute.
Everybody
one girl.
called them prostitutes. That they were projected like prostitutes. That was a very the worst thing to happen to them, I feel, because a lot of victims came out in the documentary and said that the fact that they were all labeled as prostitutes made it very difficult for them to live their life afterwards.
And they had no idea on what arrangement or deal that he had with
the
Alexandra Acosta,
Acosta.
the attorney,
then
Attorney General.
And even during that time, there was one victim
he was a
who
federal
had to.
prosecutor.
Federal prosecutor,
From
yes.
Florida that time.
Yeah.
That victim had to flee from the country, and the police department from the Palm Beach took her to because they were
Yeah,
followed.
they
were constantly followed. There
her
were
family
threats.
was also followed.
Yes.
Then she had to be taken to a safe house.
And midnight, they would just come out, put down the lights of the vehicle, and beam it right into the
Yeah,
mirror.
to the
So inside that fear that the next time you go speak to them, your life is not going to be the same.
Yeah, and the Palm Beach police actually went to the victim and said that it's better for your family if
For
you
you
stayed
to-
away.
See, this is the interesting part because we talk of surveillance normally is conducted by the police
Yeah.
on
That's the irony.
on culprits,
Yeah.
on people who have done wrong. But here,
The culprit was the surveilling.
he's surveilling the survivors. So that is the kind of power and reach that
Yeah,
he
because
has.
there was a private investigator who was
Yeah.
hired by one of the victims' attorneys, and then that
They
person
met
actually
face
went
to face.
Face
They
to
were
face,
face to face, and even when that PI was there, the other person who was sent by Epstein, he kept on recording the victim and the PI and everything. He didn't leave. He was not even intimidated by the fact that the other
Yeah.
person's PI is there.
The surveillance also broke the victims because there's one victim who tried to run away and die. She wanted to swim or just escape, but she was standing there and she realized she ran away a little far off the coast, and she understood that Epstein is watching her. And once they went into a room, there were TVs, the old type of TVs, stacked together, and each TV had they were provided accommodation inside his mansion. There was a bathroom visual of them going to the bathroom, of them in their room. So even the victims were under
Surveilled,
surveillance like
Completely.
anything.
Victims and clients also.
Also, but
Clients
even
also.
for the toilet visuals were constantly under his watch. He wanted to know where he moved, where they moved, who they spoke to. So it was kind of a
Constant
scary
surveillance. Yeah.
circle altogether.
Yeah. And his convictions, apart from the 2019 one, even the 2008 conviction, which the Acoste, he kind of helped him because he had a sentence for 18 months and then he got out in
after 13 months.
13 months. 5 months he did not even spend in prison.
And
then,
his prison was not the regular one.
Yeah.
He was provided extra food. He had TV time. He
Yeah.
would meet his lovers anytime
But
he
I think
wanted.
he always thought that
He would
wouldn't
escape.
get caught.
he wouldn't go, even if he he gets caught, he can get scot free,
walk away.
very easily.
Yeah, one of his
Amita,
victims-
when I'm talking, can you even think about why these people, even the influential, would flock to this person? Can you put out any idea out there?
I think it's all about the, like Hima said, it's the connections. Like he had a lot of he gave out so many favors that if it's like that line in Godfather. It's like, I'll give you a favor that you can't refuse. So it's like that you are in debt to me. I have done you a favor, and now you're in debt. So when I ask you something, you have to do it for me. It's that kind of favor that I'm giving you, so that when I ask you for something, you can't refuse it.
But do you believe it also has to do with his personality? Because as we mentioned, a lot of clients talk about how kind he is at times, how positive his words
How he
are.
made them feel and how
exactly.
manipulative he can be. That also could be
Could
because
be a
he
factor,
had this network of people under him that he could just call up someone and get things done.
Like the
whatever
players
it
on a chessboard that he can just move
Exactly.
according to.
Yeah. According to his whims, he could just move them and get things done for himself. So I think that is what made all these people stay with him. And also it's the money, the influence, everything. It's the collective combination of all these elite people that I think made.
And whenever these clients, whenever they were in trouble, so he created this kind of aura that they could always reach out to him.
Yeah.
Like you pray to God. You could always reach out to him, and he's there.
Available?
He's there available. If you want comfort, he will give that comfort. If you want riches, he will give you that riches. If you want revenge, he will arrange that revenge.
Yeah. And
So that's what God does.
yes. And this is
Whatever
very,
you
very
ask for.
evident in his mails, because a lot of mails are there where people are asking him for favors. Like, this has come up, can you do something about this? And this has come up, can you deal with this? There are a lot of emails in that Gmail thing that talks about how he had actually been giving favors to a lot of people. Because there, a lot of emails are specifically there where they are asking him to do something for them. And then he asked the other person to do something for him.
So this also shows about how the world is run.
Yeah.
Because normally, like when you have an issue with, let's say, immigration, you go to the immigration authorities.
Yeah.
When you have an issue with the police, you go to the police. Or if you if you want that admission, you take a test.
If you want a job.
If you want a job. So there are ways of doing things in a system.
Yeah.
And so we have the judiciary, we have the parliament, we have the police, we have the banks, and all the system actually keeps the society running.
Yeah, definitely.
But Epstein, and we believe that these systems function well, so that our justice is not denied.
It was
Yes.
disrupted
But
or denied.
Epstein built a parallel system.
Yeah, and this is one man.
You don't
who
have
could
to go. You
bypass.
don't have to go through any of these systems to get your things done.
He could just bypass the entire system and just get things done.
No, you want
He thrived on that kind of a
Yes.
pleasure also, to be able to
Play
give
God.
people what they want.
So that was his allure. That was his allure to the clients and also to the survivors. Because in the first days of the meeting with Epstein, the survivors, the girls, the young girls, even though they have been abused and they have been shocked at what has been done, they always thought that, okay, this is my ticket to a
Better
new
life.
world, a better life, a new world. And Epstein knew exactly that because he always held, he had this carrot and stick policy. He always knew how to keep them going until you reach a certain point where he can discard them.
Yeah.
And that breaks the victims also.
Yeah.
So this part, when we were talking about his conviction, the last time he was convicted,
In 2019.
2019, he realized that, because it was under Judge Berman,
Yeah.
he was very clear about what, when, and he actually agreed to pay a bail amount of
No, $75.
$110.
I
I mean,
think it's more than
110,000 amount
75,
specific.
I guess. 75,000.
But the judge dismissed it and said, so that is the day probably he felt like his world was ending. Because until then, he had a kind of a belief that no matter what, I get away, because his connections are varied and spread out.
He had this sort of feeling that he's indestructible, but then that sort of shattered when he was convicted in 2019.
So again, in the documentary, a journalist speaks about this. He said, it is a typical Epstein style, the way his death was, because even in his death, he left a controversy.
Yeah, exactly. And so there are so many controversies surrounding his
Yeah.
death because of the missing CCTV footage and a lot of other evidences that point to the fact so many people are discussing it that he might not have even died. He might still be living.
Yeah.
So there was a conspiracy theory based on the fact that his YouTube, when they released the YouTube channel handle and the fact that somebody logged into his Fortnite account and started playing that game. So a lot of people started saying that he's not dead. He's still somewhere in Israel.
And playing this game.
Playing
So
Fortnite.
even the journalist of Miami Herald,
Julie
Brown, who actually brought out the story and which actually led to his later conviction.
Yes.
So she believes that he didn't commit suicide.
Yeah.
So
she
he
doesn't
died in the
believe.
Florida prison. And she says that she knows the prison system really well.
Yes.
And there is no way
he is able
that
to-
he can commit suicide, because once you're in that prison, there is you always have a target on your back.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what he says in that New Yorker interview. There is always a target on your back, and if you are a sexual pedophile, you are in the lowest rung.
Lowest of the
rung.
security system.
So there are people behind you, and you could be attacked. So when a journalist like Julie Brown says that, I think we should take this whole suicide thing also with a pinch of salt.
You
Yeah, that's
think
that's
so?
what I feel.
Because there is in his autopsy there are broken bones.
Yeah.
And I don't
And the
think so
CCTV cameras were not.
Not
2
there.
minutes and
Okay.
50 seconds, the footage is not
And
there.
he apparently died by tying the bedsheet and strangling himself.
Yeah,
So
like
the doctor says there is no way that a person's tissue bone will be broken if you're strangling yourself using a bedsheet.
Bedsheet, yeah.
Which is why he's raising the doubts as to he
Did
was
he
strangled and he did not die by suicide.
So actually, this opened up again, a lot of conspiracy
Exactly,
theories,
conspiracy.
and also exactly why the survivors were really angry.
Yeah.
Because with his suicide, he was trying to escape facing them.
Yeah.
And so they have not had a closure yet. So actually, we were talking, in the beginning that he's like a ghost.
Yeah.
Who is haunting these people,
The world.
the world around, a ghost who is haunting this globe. Actually, if you just visualize
And
it,
5 years after his death.
Yeah,
his death,
even now.
and he still continues. And
hot in the news.
even with his the way he killed himself, actually, a lot of the survivors believe that he had actually won.
Yeah, because
Yes.
so in
Because
the
he has
given
documentary,
everything.
a particular they describe the day they got the news, and a victim says, I was doing something, I got a call, and I felt so angry because he just took away our chance to
For
put him under
redemption,
the
yes.
spotlight, look at his face and say, you did this to us.
Yeah, now you
Which is
suffer.
why Judge Berman actually gave them that opportunity.
So what have we learned from this whole episode? Actually, he led a life. He was a schemer from day one.
Yes.
That's how we know.
Yes.
Even as a student, how
As a
he,
teacher.
as a teacher, how
Brilliant
got his
power
first
broker,
job.
but a pedophile.
Yeah, power broker, pedophile, and a criminal.
Criminal.
A true criminal.
Yes.
No, that's how he. That's what his acts show.
Both Ghislaine and
Yes.
him, because
That's why they were very good
and the court
conspirators.
noted that Ghislaine had zero remorse And
Yeah,
she
even
still
though-
hasn't admitted to her crimes.
She still denies it. She still denies having any involvement in Epstein's all of these kind of activities.
Yeah, but she's sentenced to 20 years
20
in
years
prison
prison,
for
yes.
everybody to know.
So, till now we have only access to around 3 million
Yeah.
documents, and there are a total of 6
6
million
million.
documents, including photographs,
Videos.
and so the ghost haunting this globe, I'm sure he'll continue to haunt,
Yes.
and there'll be new names,
Coming up.
and there'll be new, shocking details that we haven't heard about
And
the global
after so
economy.
many years of his death.
Yes. It's been 5 years after his death.
So, actually,
6.
in fact, if you look at it, this is going to be the new world order,
Yeah.
where people who actually act from the shadows decide how people should live, thrive, or suffer even after his death. I think that's what a ghost does.
It
Yes,
makes sense.
absolutely. Yes.
It makes sense to me. So I hope we've covered, I know it's a tip of the iceberg, but if we've covered at least a surface level of what the mysterious world
But I
of
think there'll be
Jeffrey
more.
Epstein is.
There-
Yeah,
there-
definitely.
Yeah. More in the coming days.
Yes. So thank you all so much for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. Let's come back with another episode.
Yes.